go like that. Don't do that. We don't want lines around it. You just want to blur it in. I'm sure a lot of you wear eyeshadow, so the technique is the same. Blending. So blend, blend. I don't wear eyeshadow, so I wouldn't know about things like that. Just my little joke, just in case you're thinking, how does he know about that? Because I saw my ex-wife putting it on, that's why. So just go around all of your leaves like that. I'm only going to do one set because you don't want to be sat watching me do loads and loads of leaves. I've already done all my leaves and put them together, so I'm just going to do one set so that I can put one set together. Now when I've taught in class, we only do a spray with 3 roses, 1 half, 1 medium and 1 full rose. And generally we do 3 sets of leaves or 4 sets of leaves, whichever you feel confident doing. The reason being because it's going to take a long time to do. I mean, it takes it over 5 weeks lessons to do that, to get everything made and dried, because you're going to work at a lower slower pace than I do. Right, green. I've just spilled a bit of red on there, but that'll get blended in with it when I put that on. So green on your pad, off your brush, and then just brush all over your leaf with the green, and then turn it over without putting any more colour on the back, and just give it a waft over the back, because the backs of leaves tend to be lighter than the fronts. All over the red as well. Don't worry about that being underneath, that doesn't matter. You'll find out when we come to the final stage why we do that. When I first learned how to do this, we put all sorts of different colours on, coat of this and that and the other. I just find this, the way that I do it, is the simplest way, and you get the same effect. I try and find the easiest way for people that are learning to do these things, because if you start overcomplicating things, then it puts people off. And the last thing I want to do is to put somebody off if they've taken the trouble to sign up for one of my classes. I want them to feel confident at what they do. You may not do it perfectly the first time. That doesn't matter. It's all part of the learning process. And I would never turn around and tell anybody that they've made a bad job of anything. I'd always say, that's a good start. This is how you need to do it. People tend to be more self-critical of their own stuff than they do other people, you know. So, and I mean, I'm just as guilty of that as anybody else. Right, now then, the next stage now is to glaze the leaves. So I'm using leaf glaze here. And the thing is, when you're using leaf glaze, you've got to have some glaze cleaner, which is this here, isopropyl. We use this for painting on cakes as well as that's got colour all over it. Something's leaked on it there. We use that for cleaning the brushes as well as painting on cakes. But what I do is I put a small amount of it into another little bottle like that, and I keep that just for cleaning my brushes in. Don't throw it away when you've cleaned your brush. Keep it. You use it over and over and over again, even if it looks a bit mucky, because all you're doing is taking the glaze out anyway. I don't use a decent brush either for doing glaze on things. I just have a cheap brush, get a set of these from a pound shop or something like that. They're ideal for this job. For things that I'm doing on the cakes, like dusting brushes and painting brushes, I use sable brushes for painting, the fine ones. I don't know, I've got one here somewhere. But from me they're quite cheap. You pay probably more than twice as much in a shop for them, but that's the shops for you. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to glaze all over the leaf with this now, and you can see that the red comes through from the back to the front. It's quite remarkable when you do this, you know. It's fascinating watching nature come back to life. When I was taught how to make sugar flowers in the early days, Maureen always said to us that you'll never look at a flower or a leaf in the same way ever again. You'll be dissecting it to see how you can take it apart and put it back together again. And when you see some of the incredible things that they do in the competition areas at Cake International at Birmingham, you will be fascinated with the flowers. They look so real. They look as though you've just been out and picked them out of the garden. The amount of work that goes into them is unbelievable. Not quite as simplified as these that I'm doing here. Right, so once you've done those, that dries very quickly, does that? So we don't have to wait too long. By the time I finish colouring the roses, that will be ready to put together. I've lost my lid. There. The only trouble is with these bottles, with using the glaze in there, it does tend to stick your lid on a bit because it dries in the thing. So we'll just clean that brush before I get any further, because I don't need to do any more glazing. So just into your glaze cleaner, give it a good waft about. Another thing you should never do is these dusting brushes, never wash them. They don't want washing, but if they do get that dirty that you have to clean them, we can clean them with some corn flour on a worktop and just work your brush in to bring the colour out, if you've got to reuse it for different colours. But if they do get really dirty and you do want to wash them, use the glaze cleaner to clean them in. It's amazing how it works. It's incredible at bringing the muck out of your brushes. Right, so I'm going to come back to this colour now. I've also got another colour here as well, shell gold, which is what I've used on the filler flowers, and somewhere I should have a brush for that when I find what I've done with it. No, it's not there. I'll get on with colouring these first and then I'll sort that one out. Right, so what I'm going to do now is, I've got a full rose here that I dried earlier, that's already dry, and I'm going to show you how to colour that. So for that I'm going to use this colour, blackcurrant. It looks really dark, but when you get it on something like this, because we're only going to use very small amounts, but you'd be surprised how delicate it can be. So a little bit of that onto and get it off your brush. One of the things that I've been pulled up at competitions for is because they can see specks of dust, and that's because you haven't got enough dust off your brush. You don't want it to flick on. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to go around the very edge of the petals like that and just catch them. All I'm doing is what I call scratch dusting. I'm just catching the edge and it sort of pulls it in a little bit. You only want it on the very edge of your petals. So if you look at a rose like this, it's got colour on the edge. That's all there is on it. That's the only bit of colour. But it makes all the difference. Now if you wanted to with these, you could actually dust these all over with the cream lustre dust first, which would make the petals more shiny and waxy looking. I do use it on some flowers sometimes. There we are. That's all you need. So the same on that bud, because I'm a bud short in the other bids, so I'm just going to give that a little bit of a colour on the edge like that. When you get to the centre of the flower a bit, go a little bit more heavily in, because they're a little bit darker, so you can go a little heavier on the centre part. Again, like I said, because your petals are close together, then you will get that. Right, so onto the filler flowers. So what I'm going to do with that now is, what's that? I used the wrong brush there. If you get a brush that's dirty and you want to use it for something else, I'll show you how to clean it. So here, I've got some icing sugar over here, that'll do. Just put a bit on your worktop like that. Normally I'd use corn flour, but it just happens that I've just got the icing sugar here, and I want to clean that red out of there. So just go into your dust like that and just work your brush in it. And then on your hand, get rid of the dust, and that's taking most of the colour out, look. That shouldn't pick any more of that up now. So just get rid of that one because we're finished with that one. Oops. Whatever you do, don't spill this dust because it stains like hell. If you get it on your carpet or anything like that, you'll have a right job getting rid of it. Now this one's called Shell Gold, which is like a cream with gold flecks in it. So onto there like that. And then all I did was just dust into the petals like that. You can go right into the centre and dust out on these if you want. So that's that. You can't really see much of it, but later on you can steam your flowers. I have a special steamer here for doing that. This is a PME steamer. You can use a kettle or an iron, but make sure it's not spitting. That's the main thing. I had an accident with this yesterday. I put too much water in it and it spat on some of my leaves, so some of them I had to redo because they started melting, because if you get water on, they'll just disintegrate. Right, those leaves are dry now. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put those together, and I have some, when I find it, I've got some tape somewhere that I've already cut. Find what I've done with it. There it is. This is a darker colour because the roses have got darker stems on it, so I've used this, and I'll also use this for putting the spray together as well. I've just used lighter colour on the filler flowers because they usually have lighter coloured stems anyway, with being smaller flowers. Not always, but a lot of them do. So again, pinch it in to make sure it's stuck to your wire, and then start twisting between your finger and thumb. Hold it at an angle like that and twist down. Now I haven't gone right up to the leaf for the simple reason that I don't want to break the leaf off, so then push it up like that. Go down about an inch and then put your two medium leaves in. Now unlike most leaves, on rose leaves, the largest one is at the end and the smallest ones at the bottom, instead of being small going back to large ones. So twist down with that, go down an inch. Now there's a bit of stem showing there, don't want that showing, so pull those down so those are in. It also stops them from rocking about, so they stay put as well. About an inch down, then your two small leaves go in. Again, you're always leaving a little bit of wire so your fingers don't catch your leaves and break them. Tape down a bit and then pull your wires down like that, right down to the tape, and then tape right the way down to the bottom. You get used to doing this when you've done it a long time like me. Right, so then you've got your leaves like that, so then you bring your leaves out. So small leaf out to the side, out to the side, medium leaf out to the side, out to the side, like that. Okay, right, put those to one side with all my other leaves ready for my spray. Now coming back to the filler flower, the backs, these you don't put a calyx on these because they're too small to put a calyx on. So what I do is I have a very pale green powder here. This one's called Tropical Lime. There are a few different limes. They do a lime and a tropical lime. The lime is just slightly darker than the tropical lime. Again, back to my green brush, a little bit of the lime green, and then I just dust just around the base of the petals. I also use this a lot when I'm doing things like lilies, where you've got that little bit of green just on the edge of the petals, just to catch the edge of the petals, which looks very good. And sometimes up the back of the petals as well, there's a sort of green line. Look at the back of your flowers and you'll see what I mean. Right, so that's done. So put that to one side. And I think we've got all the components all put together there. So I'm just going to get rid of these things out of the way. And then I can start assembling the flowers. What I am going to do with them, which I've never done in class because I don't have anything there to do it, apart from the fact it will be too big. I'm actually going to do, I've done a wedding cake that I've been working on here, and I'm going to put the flowers on the cake so you can see how they look on a cake as well. So I've got that at the side here. You can't see it yet, but you will see it. Right, so get all my components together. I'll just put my light round so you can see what I'm doing. Put a bit more light on the subject. Push all my tools back and get all my bits and pieces ready. So here's my blue Peter bit that I've done, all the flowers ready for this spray. Yes, there are a lot of flowers in this spray, and for that reason I've done half of the spray so you can see what it's like. And normally in class we've done sort of a pointed spray like this with just a bud, a half rose and a full rose. But for this, as I've told people, all the sprays all start the same way, unless you're doing what we call a bomb spray, where you've got sort of a rounded spray which is done in a mound. But all the other sprays are either what we call a pointed spray, a double pointed spray, which is this one with another one at that side and then some flowers in the centre, and then that can be turned into either a crescent spray or Hogarth spray, which is what I'm going to do today. So I'll just put those to one side for the time being over there while I put that together. So I'm going to start and show you how I put that together. So I need some tape, which I've got here. I'm going to use full width tape for this because we want everything to be short, secure, and we don't want anything rocking about. So I'll just pop that back in there. So I'm going to start off with a bud. Oh, one thing that I missed doing as well was dusting the back of this this rose here. I better do that, haven't I? Well, I've still got some. No, I haven't. I didn't dust the back of that. Whoops! My first mistake today. Where's my brush? Down there somewhere, behind me. Oh, knocked my glue over. Never mind. Oh, it's there. So to do your calyx, just brush down the calyx like that. By gum, it's getting warm in here. Must be getting warmer outside. Still looks miserable though. Imagine what it's like for me, I mean, shielding with this blooming NHS letter coming, not being able to go out. Can't go out for exercise, I put weight on. And have you seen the state of my hair? I'm probably sure you noticed earlier on, I look like one of the Beatles. Right, that's not quite as dark as it should be, but it's dark enough. Right, I've already steamed the ones that I've got in there, so I'm just going to steam these just to show you what effect that has. Let's get it a little bit more. Just dust that one. Right, when you've got your colour, you can steam them just to set the colour. So what I'm going to do is, there we are, it's steaming. So all you need to do is to go around like that and like that. That's all you need. Put it to one side to dry. There's the flour that I dusted. Don't want to do too much on that because it's still quite soft and I don't want the petals to drop back. But you've got that sort of like a sheen on it now. Switch that off. Put that over that side. Over there. Right. Just give that a bit more. Where's my green brush gone? There. Right, tape. I thought I cut some. Must have done. I'm just losing my head here. Right, start again. It's been a long demonstration, so excuse me. Right, again, as normal, stretch the end of your tape. You start off your spray with a sprig of leaves. Start your tape on it, and then lay a bud in between your leaves like that. You always want your leaves to be behind your flowers. They're not the main focal point, they're just there to add a framework. So tape back about an inch, and then you can put in a half rose. Now I've got various different stages of roses here. I've got one that I've left with the first 3 sets of petals on. Now I'm going to leave a little bit of wire on it like that and tape this in. Now what I do to make sure everything is secure in the spray, I find it easier when I've put a flower in, to make sure it stays where I want it to stay, to tape right down to the bottom. So you're going to tape right the way down in between each thing you do, and you'll find then you can move it around it and it'll stay where you want it to be. That wants to be slightly off to one side of the one in front. Then if you start your tape off again below that, about an inch again, I'm going to put in the next half rose, which is the next size up with the further 3 petals on it. I'm not going to bend it up this time because I've got a bit of room there to get that in. And tape down with that. Keep your tape really tight, so you're stretching with this hand and rolling with the other hand. So you need it to get nearly taut enough for you to tear it. And then we can bend that flower up there, so that goes to the other side. So you've got one in the middle, one to that side, one to that side. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in again, and I'm going to then put in between one of the little filler flowers then. So leaving a bit of stem bare there, put that in. And then pull that one up there like that, so it's in between the roses. Okay, tape right the way down to the bottom. So these wires will stay put where I've put them if you get it tight enough. You won't have all people always say, oh, my flowers are all waggling about. It's because you haven't got your tape tight enough, that's why. Right, so if we go back to the spray and have a look at that, see where we've got to. So behind that I've put another bud in. Should have another bud in there somewhere. Can't see it. Have I got one? No, I haven't. Thought I had. Oh well. Start the tape off again behind there. And I'm going to put in another half rose in there. Oops. Just rest that on there for now. And tape right down to the bottom. Then I can adjust that one. And then I'm going to put in another filler flower. Oh, I've got another bud, it's there, look. There we are. I'm just going to put that in there next to that. I'm trying to make it identical to the other side because I want two sides to this spray. So it's going to be a point on one end and a point on the other end. Which, as I explained, is how you make a Hogarth spray. Or a crescent spray. Just pull that up, like that. There we are. Just gives us a little bit more variety in the spray. Right, the next thing I'm going to do, the last part for this end of the spray then, is to put some more leaves in. I put these in at the back at last because they're going to go behind these flowers and that will frame that. Because if you notice in there, there's only 3 sprays of flowers in there, leaves in there, with all the flowers. You don't need loads and loads of leaves, they're just a framework. But you can use any kind of leaves that you want. So I start off by putting that behind the spray like that. Just one twist round with that, and then put another set of leaves in at the other side at the same position so they're both level with each other, and go around with your tape, then spray down to the bottom. The only problem you have now, and this is where you have to be careful, when you're putting this many flowers in a spray, it does start to get quite heavy because sugar is very heavy. Right, so then we pull these leaves out to the side, one there, one there, so we've got that kind of spray. Okay? The next bit is the tricky bit. I've got another piece of tape there that will do for this. I'm now going to put these 2 sprays together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend that wire down like that. Now it's a good idea to get a pair of long nose pliers to do this. So if you hold the spray just behind the roses there and bend your wire down like that. So you're bending it at an angle like that. Okay, that's one spray. And then get your other spray and do the same. So put your pliers on there and bend down like that. Okay, so you've now got that bend down like that. Right, now then, what you need to do now is to get your tape started off on one side of your spray. So this is where you need to be careful that you don't knock anything off. Now those leaves are hanging down a bit, so I'm just going to push them up a bit out of the way. You can readjust them later. So I'm going to, that's torn off. That's torn it, as I say. Spring that round like that. Make sure that's secure. Then get your other spray and put them both together like that. You might find to get it started you need to tuck it round like that, just so you can get to that point where you can twist it round. It is going to move around a bit at this point, so don't worry so much about that. I'm just going to wrap it round manually for the time being, just until I can get far enough down so that I can spin it round without knocking any leaves or anything off. If you need to bend your sprays up a little bit, bend them up out of the way so you don't catch them.